Hello students, today we will be taking the Lost Child, that is your Moments first chapter. So the author is Mulk Raj Anand. Let me tell you about his author. So he was born on 12 December 1905 and died on September 28, 2004. He was a prominent Indian author of novels, short stories, and critical essays in English. He is known for his realistic and sympathetic portrayal of poor in India. He is considered as a founder of the English language in Indian novel. That is, he used to write in English. Very simple English though. So, now I'll tell you about the theme of the chapter, The Lost Child. So, as the title suggests, it is about a child who has lost. Let's see whom he has lost. So, it's a very common story in which a child who wanted everything, who's fascinated by each and everything that comes across his way. And in the end, he realizes that it is the parents that are true worth to him rather than any other thing. Means his love for parents take the forefront seat as compared to other things which fascinated him. So it's a universal story, you can say, about each and every child. So let's do the story. The Lost Child. A child goes to a fair with his parents. He is happy and excited and wants the sweets and toys displayed there, but his parents don't buy them for him. Why does he refuse when someone else offers them to him? So we'll find it out. It was the festival of spring. That is the springtime, the season of festival has come. From the wintry shades of narrow lanes and alleys, alleys means streets, emerged a gaily clad humanity. Gaily means cheerful. Clad means it is together. Humanity. That means the scene is of festivity. Everyone is enjoying. All the streets, all the lanes, all the alleys are filled with humans. They are crowded and they are in a very cheerful mood. A very joyful mood is depicted over here. Some walked, some rode on horses, others sat, being carried in bamboo and bullock carts. So there was all this confusion, all this chaos is going on. One little boy ran between his father's legs, brimming over with life and laughter. Brimming means when something is full of its capacity. It's almost full. That means it would almost fall down from that. So this little boy, he was full of life and laughter. That is the positive attitude of life is being depicted. It's the universal truth that children are very much full of life. Come, child, come, called his parents as he lagged behind, fascinated by the toys in the shops that lined the way. So they were going somewhere, and on the way, child was looking at the toys, and the parents were forcing him, let's go, come child, come child. He hurried towards his parents, his feet obedient to their call. Obedient, he has to obey them. His eyes still lingering on the receding toys. Receding, passing. Lingering means falling back. So he was just looking towards the toys and just walking with his parents. As he came to where they had stopped to wait for him, he could not suppress. Suppress, come down, bring down. Or you can say force down the desire of his heart. Even though he well knew the old cold stare of refusal in their eyes. Refusal when somebody would deny. So he very well knew that his parents will not let him do what he wants, will not buy him anything, but still he just have to ask. I want that toy, he pleaded. His father looked at him red-eyed in his familiar tyrant's way. Tyrant, somebody cruel, very bad. His mother, melted by the free spirit of the day, was tender, and giving him her finger to hold, said, "Look, child, what is before you." So father, he was strict, while mother, she was a motherly figure, so she tried to just calm him down. And she said, "Look and enjoy the scene." It was a flowering mustard field, pale like melting gold, as it swept across miles and miles of even land. So, since it was a mustard field and the flowers of mustard are of yellow color, so it appeared that as if it was a field of gold. A group of dragonflies were bustling about on their gaudy purple wings, intercepting the flight of a lone black bee or butterfly in search of sweetness from the flowers. So there was the group of dragonflies, it was teasing a single butterfly who was in search of sweetness to make honey. So these dragonflies were teasing this black bee. The child followed them in the air with his gaze till one of them would still its wings and rest, and he would try to catch it. This child, he was a little child, so he was very much, you can say, very much fascinated by this whole scene, that now he wants to just catch this butterfly. But it would go fluttering. Fluttering means moving with its wings. Flapping means the movement of wings up and down, up into the air, when he had almost caught it in his hands. Then his mother gave a cautionary call. "Come, child, come on to the footpath." So he was enjoying, he was just catching this butterfly, and at that very moment, the mother called to him, "Let's go." He ran towards his parents gaily, cheerfully, and walked abreast of them for a while. Abreast means together. Being, however, soon left behind, attracted by the little insects and worms along the footpath that were teeming out from their hiding places to enjoy the sunshine. So he was in a totally enjoyable mood. He was enjoying. He was just pacing with his mother and father, apart from enjoying all these activities, even insects, butterflies, toys, all these things. He was just enjoying it out. "Come, child, come." His parents called from the shade of a grove. They had seated themselves on the edge of a wall. He ran towards them. So now parents said, "Let's go." A shower of young flowers fell upon the child as he entered the grove, and forgetting his parents, he began to gather the raining petals in his hands. So he was enjoying collecting the flowers, the petals of the flowers, they had fallen down, and he was just collecting them. But lo, he heard the cooing of doves and ran towards his parents, shouting, "The dove, the dove." So a new member has come, dove. That was a bird, and then he also went to his parents and said, "Look, there's a dove." The raining petals dropped from the forgotten hands. Means one after the other, the incidences kept on coming. First the toys, then the dragonflies, then the butterflies, then this flowers, and then the dove, all in a row. "Come, child, come," they called to the child, who had now gone running in wild capers round the banyan tree. Now he was enjoying his ride over the banyan tree, circling it around, and gathering him up, they took the narrow winding footpath which led to the fair through the mustard fields. So where they were heading? They were heading towards the fair. So he was so excited, and on the way he was enjoying all the things which he saw. Okay, now as they neared the village, the child could see many other footpaths full of throngs converging to the whirlpool of the fair. Throngs means crowd of people, and converging to the whirlpool of the fair. Whirlpool is a storm which is inside the water. So circle inside the water. So it was like a whirlpool of men around the fair. It was so crowded, and felt at once repelled. Repelled means he backed out and fascinated by the confusion of the world he was entering. So, both the emotions he was feeling fascinated, he was just in awe of this whole confusion, that he just thought twice whether to enter or not. One of his, the mind says not to enter, whereas the heart says he has to go. He was fascinated. Now, a sweetmeat seller hawked gulab jamun, rasgulla, barfi, jalebi at the corner of the entrance, and a crowd pressed round his counter at the foot of an architecture of many colored sweets decorated with leaves of silver and gold. So first was the sweet meat seller, means all sort of sweets he had. The child started open-eyed and the child stared open-eyed and his mouth watered for the barfi that was his favorite sweet. I want that barfi. So he demanded. He slowly murmured. But he half knew as he begged that his plea of this barfi would not be taken any notice of, because his parents would say he was greedy. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. He wanted to have barfi, but he knew that his parents would say that he was greedy, so he just moved on. A flower seller hawked. Hawk, do you understand? The vendors are there and they sell out their things. A garland of gulmohar. A garland of gulmohar. The child seemed irresistibly drawn. Irresistibly? Unbelievably. Nothing can ever took him apart from that. He went towards the basket where the flowers lay heaped and half murmured, I want that garland. But he knew his parents would refuse to buy him those flowers because they would say they were cheap. So, without waiting for an answer, he moved off. Again, he demanded gulmohar, and he knew that his father would not give him so because it was cheap. So, he just moved on. A man stood holding a pole with yellow, red, green and purple balloons flying over it. Now comes the balloons. Child was simply carried away by the rainbow glory of the silken colors, and he was filled with an overwhelming desire to possess them. He wanted them all. But he knew his parents would never buy him the balloons because they would say he was too old to play with such toys, so he walked on further. He had desire, he wanted them, but he knew that his parents would never give him, so he walked on. A snake charmer stood playing a flute to a snake which coiled itself in a basket, its head raised in a graceful bend-like neck of a swan, while the music stole into its invisible ears like gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall. Rippling is the circles which are formed on the water when something is dropped into it. The child went towards the snake charmer. So it was the snake and he was having the snake dance. But knowing his parents had said no. Forbidden him to hear such coarse, rough music. As the snake charmer played, he proceeded further. There was a roundabout in full swing. Now it was a swing time. It was roundabout. Men, women and children carried away in a whirling motion shrieked, shouted and cried with dizzy laughter. Dizzy, never-ending laughter. The child watched them intently and then he made a bold request. I want to go on the roundabout, please, father and mother. This was the thing which he wanted the most. There was no reply. He turned to look at his parents. They were not there ahead of him. He turned to look on either side. They were not there. He looked behind. There was no sign of them. Now he was completely lost. A full deep cry rose within his dry throat, and with a sudden jerk of his body, he ran from where he stood, crying in real fear. Now he was really scared. Mother, father, tears rolled down from his eyes, hot and fierce. So it was very heated. He was heated up actually. His flushed face was convulsed with fear. Convulsed, having the lines shaken with fear. Panic-stricken. He was in panic, of course. He ran to one side, then to other, hither and thither, here and there, in all directions, knowing not where to go. Mother, father, he wailed, cried. His yellow turban came untied and his clothes became muddy. So he was wearing a turban and it just unrolled itself and all his clothes were muddy now. Having run to and fro in a rage of running for a while, rage means in an anger of running, just looking for the parents, he stood defeated. He had lost. His cries suppressed into sobs. Now he was no longer crying, but he was sobbing. A little distances on the green grass, he could see through his filmy eyes men and women talking. So he was surrounded with men and women who were talking. He tried to look intently among the patches of bright yellow clothes, but there was no sign of his father and mother among these people who seemed to laugh and talk just for the sake of laughing and talking. So nobody was concerned about him. They were enjoying themselves out. He ran quickly again, this time to shrine, to which people seemed to be crowding. Shrine is a sacred place, temple or something like that. Every little inch of space here was congested with men. So it was just filled with men. But he ran through people's leg, his little sob lingering mother and father. He was still crying for mother and father. Near the entrance to the temple, however, the crowd became very thick. Men jostled each other, pushed each other. Heavy men with flashing murderous eyes and hefty shoulders. Means they were giant almost. The poor child struggled to thrust away between their feet, but knocked to and fro by their brutal movements. He might have been trampled underfoot. So he was fallen, and he might have been, it would have been a stampede, you understand, when you were just kicked by the feet. Had he not shrieked at the highest pitch of his voice, cried, "Father, mother," a man in the surging crowd heard his cry, stooping with great difficulty, lifted him up in his arms. So there was a man who had seen him, and now he had picked him up. He has picked him up. "How did you get here, child? Whose baby are you?" the man asked as he steered clear of the mass. The child wept more bitterly than ever now and only cried, "I want my mother, I want my father." So, no worries, he was just having this thing that I only want my mother and father, and he was not at all concerned who the other person was or what the other person was asking. The man tried to soothe him by taking him to the roundabout. "Will you have a ride on the horse?" he gently asked as he approached the ring. The child's throat tore into 1,000 shrill sobs, and he only shouted, "I want my mother, I want my father." So now he was not concerned about roundabout. Now the man headed towards the place where the snake charmer still played on the flute to the moving cobra. "Listen to that nice music, child," he pleaded. But the child shut his ears with his fingers and shouted his double-pitched strain, "I want my mother, I want my father." So no difference. The man took him near the balloons, thinking the bright colors of balloons will distract the child's attention and quieten him. "Would you like a rainbow-colored balloon?" he persuasively asked. Persuasively means he just forcefully asked. The child turned his eyes from flying balloons and just sobbed, "I want my mother, I want my father." So balloons are also a no-no. The man, still trying to make the child happy, bore him to the gate where the flower seller sat. "Look, can you smell those nice flowers, child? Would you like a garland to put around your neck?" So he was trying to just soothe him up, pacify him down, but the child was not listening to anything. He just wanted his mother and father. The child turned his nose away from the basket and reiterated his sob. Repeated again and again his sob, "I want my father, I want my mother." Thinking to humor his disconsolate charge by a gift of sweets, disconsolate means to pacify him. He was also dejected by this, depressed by this. The man took him to the counter of the sweet shop. "What sweets would you like, child?" he asked. The child turned his face from the sweet shop and only sobbed, "I want my mother, I want my father." That means nothing can now force him to have some sort of a peace. He just wanted his mother and father. Now he does not want anything, any sweet, any toys, anything in the world but his mother and father. This is how, when he has lost his parents, he has now come to realize that only parents are the worthy of his liking. That means he cannot live without his parents. He just doesn't want anything, just his parents. So I think the chapter is clear. We'll do the question answers on the next turn. Thank you.